Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about another rationalist, that being Rene Descartes, who lived from 1596 to 1650. Descartes has been called the father of modern philosophy, and that's because he lays the agenda for the next several hundred years with the things that he philosophizes about, and also he has a method that's very modern, you could say, and that is this method of doubt. He's a French philosopher and did his philosophy in Paris. And let's talk first about the method of doubt. Descartes has said that in his studies of philosophy, that all he encounters are doubts, half-truths, opinions that can be doubted. And so therefore there's no certainty, despite nearly 2 centuries of philosophy going back to the ancient Greeks. So what he wants to do is put philosophy on a new footing. And he wants to do it in this odd sort of way with this method of doubt. You might say, well, how is he going to establish anything with doubt? Well, the method to this madness is to doubt everything that he can in order to see if there's at least one thing that is indubitable, or not doubtable. And so he wrote this book in 1641 called The Meditations. And there are actually 6 different meditations. Him sitting before the fireplace, 6 different evenings, he says, in his dressing gown, and just thinking. And this would be an activity without a writing instrument or anything to write on. Just sitting there thinking before the fireplace, and what can he know? He seems to think that's the primary question in philosophy. What can be known? So Meditations on First Philosophy is the full title of his book. And so in the first meditation, which is entitled What Can Be Doubted, he starts to think about what it is that he can know. And he realizes that all the things that his senses have revealed to him can be doubted. He starts to doubt whether his head exists and his hands exist. Well, these are just some of the sensory input that you would ordinarily receive looking at your hands, and do they exist? He then says, well, what has deceived me even once should not be trusted, and his senses have deceived him. And you can think of ordinary circumstances where the senses do deceive. You've seen a stick in water appearing bent due to the refraction of the light. You've looked down the road on a summer day and it looked as if there was water rising. It was just a mirage. You've maybe driven to New York and seen before going into a tunnel or across a bridge, you go like this and see that the Empire State Building appears to be 1 inch high. Well, that's parallax. That's what it looks like from a distance. So the senses do deceive, and should they be trusted? Descartes answers that with an emphatic no. They cannot be trusted. In addition, he says that we can also doubt the difference between dreaming and waking. He says the reports I get when I'm waking are no different than those I get when I'm dreaming. The same things that enter my dreams in my dream life are the things that enter my waking life, it appears. So I see familiar shapes and colors and people. And how do I know which state of those two is the waking state and which one is the dreaming state? We think right now is the waking state, and we think the state when we go to sleep begins the dreaming state. But how do I know that they're not reversed? In fact, he generates this doubt by saying there could be this evil deceiver. Think of a being who is all-powerful and all-knowing, but not all good. So he has 2/3 of the attributes of a traditional monotheistic deity. But he's deceptive, let's say. He's not. He can use the utmost cunning to deceive me, Descartes says. Well, this being could make it appear that the things I see in the world are really there, and that the dream state is really a dream state and the waking state is really a waking state. But I don't know for sure. This, after all of reality could be an endless film loop in this being's mind. There's just no way of knowing for certain. In addition, Descartes, a mathematician who's responsible for the Cartesian coordinates in geometry, we all at some point probably graphed equations on the XY axis. Descartes is here saying that even 2 + 2 = 5. Surely I'd be certain of that. He says, no, well, it may appear that 2 + 2 = 5, but if this all-powerful all-knowing but deceptive being, this evil genius. I think the French word is malingenie. If he has these powers and can deceive me, then I don't even know if that's the case. So mathematics, the senses, the difference between waking and dreaming, all these are suspect in the final analysis. So when you end this first meditation, Descartes, sometimes called a destructive meditation, it's as if the city has been laid waste. There's nothing left standing. He doesn't know anything for certain. And so then he begins the second meditation. What can be known with certainty? What can I be sure of? And then he reviews all the previous day's doubts. And so he reviews all the things that he doubted yesterday, and now he wonders what can he know for certain now. So he's looking for one foundation. Descartes makes the analogy to building a building. He's raised the building in the first, wiped it to the ground in the first meditation, but now he's looking for one foundation, one cornerstone that can't be doubted, and he can erect the entire edifice on that. He's been called a foundationalist when it comes to metaphysics, a foundationalist being someone who believes that you need some bold starting point in order to build the world back up again, in order to trust what's there. And so he says, I review all the previous day's doubts. I know that there's nothing I can be sure of except that one thing, I cannot doubt that I am now doubting. So this will lead to the famous cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. Try as he might, this evil deceiver cannot make me doubt that I'm now doubting. In fact, all the more when I try to doubt that I'm now doubting, I come up against this idea that there must be an I that's doing the doubting. Doubting isn't detached from a subject that's doing it, and so the subject must exist. So cogito ergo sum. Some people have pointed out that it could be dubito ergo sum, D-U-B-I-T-O, because it's I doubt, therefore I am. And so now he has that one truth, that one starting point. I think, therefore I am. He cannot doubt his own consciousness, that is, as some people have written. So there's the starting point, the certain point that he relies upon. He thinks that that's known intuitively. The second moment in this second meditation is this famous example of the wax. And he says, let's take a block of wax. And he says it's fresh from the honeycomb, it has a smell, it's white, it's hard, he makes it sound, he says, when you give it a rap. But if you bring it too close to a flame, it will start to melt, and what was once a block of wax will soon be an amorphous puddle, and not having the same texture. In fact, it'll be more fluid now, and will not have the shape of a cube, let's say, as it had before. And so what has happened? All the sensory properties of that block of wax have changed. It is now not the same to the touch. It is not as warm to the touch. It is not hard. It doesn't make the same sound, so it doesn't have the same, it doesn't appeal the same way to our auditory sense. So what is it if you look at the block of wax and the melted wax, yet he says, I think that they are the same wax. But how do I know that? Not by the senses. And here's his little poke at empiricism and his raising the flag for rationalism. It must be that I know this wax is the same by an inspection of the mind, as he puts it. And how do I know it's the same? Well, think of Aristotle's law of identity. Everything is equal to itself. A is equal to A. Wax is equal to wax. So I know that the puddle of wax is equal to the block of wax, but not by my senses. All the sensory properties, again, have changed. So there must be then some innate idea, he says, which is rationalists often believe in them. Descartes believes in several kinds that we'll talk about. But the innate idea of sameness, or the law of identity that he brought into this world, allows him to ascertain that it's the same wax. It's not the senses. I think the example is ingenious. I've always found it a strong argument for rationalism. A similar argument will come up in Meditation 6 when he argues for the existence of corporeal bodies. He's first doubted them. He says everything that I thought I knew by the senses, I can doubt because the senses have deceived me. But he'll make a similar argument for their existence when we get to Meditation 6. So this, I hope, gives you a start with the meditations, the first two, and you understand the program. What can I know? And he first doubts everything, and then he comes round to the idea that there are several things that cannot be doubted. The first of which is, I think, therefore I am. All right, that's all for now.